Welcome to another edition of Wine Guide TV. Ben Edwards is my name, this is Dan Sims, and today we are in Chablis heaven.
Well, it comes as no surprise, and we've talked about this, how much we have a love affair with this particular region and style of wine. So we thought, you know what, why don't we do a full episode on a few different producers, a couple of different vintages, and talk about the style of Chablis and why we love it so much.
That's a good place to start. We have 4 wines here, 2 vintages, 4 very different styles. Yep. Style, it's all about style.
It is about
Sometimes
style.
we forget about talking about that, you know, because within the Chablis genre, you're going to have wines that are really light, crisp, finely detailed, and then you're also going to have the ones that are more textural, full and rich.
And that can go for practically every single region when you look at it, and even for any particular variety. And I think the thing for me that I love about Chablis the most is that it sits in that sort of light to medium body spectrum, even though we're talking Chardonnay, which is technically into that sort of fuller bodied spectrum of a variety. What I love about these styles is they're just really lovely and fresh and light. Great for luncheon wines.
Yes,
light to medium bodied in style, and again that quality level all the way through with different types of quality levels. It's an interesting story.
It is an interesting story. It is Chardonnay, you're mentioning that, but it's also from a very cool region, and so as a result the wines are cool in character. So we'll start with a beautiful little minerally Bernard de Fay, Petit Chablis.
Yeah, well, Petit Chablis kind of sits in the sort of, well, the bottom rung of the Chablis hierarchy, so to speak. But this particular one, again, it's still got that lovely Chablis character. It probably doesn't have the depth and weight of those in the sort of higher levels, but for me, it's still got that really lovely sort of hint of lemony citrus characters, some lovely sort of fresh acid backbone. As a drink, it's approachable as an example of Chablis, ticking all the boxes.
Yeah. It's a dry, chalky finish too, which we expect from Chablis. It is Petit Chablis, it is entry level, it is under screw cap, and it is also 2009 vintage. Now 2009, while much hyped for the rest of Europe, 2009 is what is going to be a forward, juicy kind of vintage for Chablis. And the classic vintages like 2008 are much more tightly wound, and we'll get onto that in a minute. How many points for that, Dan?
89.
89
points, because I like it because it's still ticking all those boxes, not pushing those high heights, but very well constructed and put together.
It's got a really long, nutty sort of tone to the finish as well.
It's not inoffensive. Well, not offensive, I should say.
Oh, it's inoffensive.
Well, it is inoffensive, not inoffensive.
Whatever, let's move along. Christian Moreau. We're big fans of Christian Moreau. A superstar in the making. Hasn't been around as a domain of its own for a long time. But the wines coming out from Christian Moreau are brilliant. 2008 wines were spectacular. This 2009 does show those richer, riper characters, but still has the finesse and detail I expect from Christian Moreau.
Exactly. I think this is a really good example of the 2009 vintage, and especially, and this is literally only just been released. So this is only just coming onto the market right now. So, and that's off the back of that 08, which was super dry and fine. You're seeing that extra element of weight with this particular wine, pushing to that almost medium-bodied spectrum in terms of Chablis, but still freshening up, still got that classic backbone of acid.
And in terms of the classic idea of Chablis, one of the things about Chablis was that it always had this struck-match kind of complexity, you know, like gunflint kind of, you know, somebody's just shot the gun. I'm sure you do that all the time, but you get this kind of complexity to it, and that one has it, and it's pretty interesting.
Well, moving on. Now, anyone...
We didn't give any points to that.
Oh, any points?
Yeah, I think we should give points.
Let's see, but make 92?
92 points.
92 points. It's a nice sort of example of style, you know. Now, moving on. This one, Raveneau. I mean, anyone who drinks Chablis or knows anything about Chablis will know that Raveneau is, without doubt, one of the benchmark producers. This is a great opportunity to talk about this particular wine. It's rare as hen's teeth, really.
It's impossible to get.
It's impossible to get.
And sometimes we've got to put stuff like that on Wine Guide TV so that people out there know that if they see it on a wine list or in a wine shop and they get an opportunity to buy a bottle of Raveneau, they should do it, because it is the absolute benchmark. Long family traditions, the way they make the wine, they build in a lot of texture, a lot of complexity. Vine age plays a critical part into how deep and complex these wines are, but this has that 08 raciness. It's got volume, it's got depth, but it's got raciness. And you know what? It's incredibly long.
This is just an entry level, the AC Chablis, so just a village level, but in terms of weight, complexity, structure, again, that depth of flavour and length of flavour, it is absolutely super.
It's beautiful.
It's 94 points Possibly, probably even more.
94 points will do. Yeah. Well, because you've also got to put into context that if you looked at the Premier Crew, you'd probably be a point or two above, and then Grand Crew, you're hoping to go above. If you go too high from the start, you've got nowhere to go. So let's leave it at 94.
Really lovely drink, super drink.
Now, Gilbert Peak is a producer you don't see as much of, hasn't been around in Australia for so long. The Vogro is a Premier Crew vineyard, so it comes from a very specific vineyard, and whereas this would have come from a blend of different vineyards, this wine comes from one single vineyard. 08 again. The style of Gilbert Peak is a very tight, minerally style, and quite often I get a kind of greenness to the acidity, sort of like green apple to go with the lemon.
Definitely green apple.
But you get a little bit of this, don't you?
I do, and I quite like going. You know, in terms of value, we talk about value a lot. This retailing around the $50 mark. So in terms for a Premier Cru wine around $50, that's pretty fantastic value. The wine has still got that, probably doesn't have that almost that extra element of weight and power, but in terms of that stylistic character, approachability, and I suppose ticking that boxes kind of thing, it's a nice drink. I quite like it. It's
got it's actually opened up nicely in the glass, and when we have to look at these wines and give them points, and yes, we see them before today, but seeing this wine open and evolve, I think, we were a little hard on our 90 points, and I reckon we can push it into sort of 92 points there, because it just is a lot longer and a lot more expansive.
Exactly. The acid really backbone is structured that you really, it's building. It's bloody satisfying. It's building. And I think that's the thing about Chablis, it's that satisfaction that we're talking about, and especially why it's such a great luncheon wine in warmer weather. Just to have it tick the boxes, it's refreshing, it goes with a range of different styles of food, and it's approachable. Now, in saying that, also we've been banging on about Australian Chardonnay. We're starting to see again those Aussie Chardonnays pulling back and having that refreshing character. Chablis, I'm all about it.
You are. I mean, you are literally all about it.
I am all about it.
Okay, well, that's a little lesson on Chablis. Hope you've enjoyed it. Get out there, drink plenty of it. Of course, support the good Australian stuff as well. But sometimes it's nice to head on overseas. Cheers.
Cheers.